能过来上个公厕，再可以人脸识别扫码，
请正视屏幕，请您
直接出纸。现在出门上厕所都不用带纸了，真方便了。
Poopy butt or worship the Chinese totalitarian communist state? A very tough decision that a lot of people in China are making today. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Zukradowski here of WeAreChange.org, and we have a plethora of absolutely mind-boggling and crazy news to get into today, as of course artificial intelligence is starting to become a lot like Mr. Epstein. We're going to be explaining that plus a lot more as the conflict rages on in Ukraine, the larger proxy conflict between the East and the West, which just got a lot more significant and a lot more crazier. We're going to be talking about that plus a lot more all here on this independent media broadcast. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you could get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com, and the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast is being shared around allegedly from China, which is starting to use facial recognition technology in order to dispense toilet paper. Yes, there are automatic artificial intelligence facial recognition booths outside of pooping stations in China, where if your social credit score is too low, you do not get to have toilet paper. No good social credit score? You're not too happy about a totalitarian government controlling every aspect of your life, centralizing all the important decisions, even when they're the wrong ones for you personally? Poopy butt for you. And that's real. That's real life right now in China, coming to the United States if you keep being on your knees. Especially with the advent of technological revolutions, which is bringing forth the fourth industrial revolution that is going to be woke as hell. It's also going to be extremely unfair and in the hands of some very bad individuals. This, as the Biden administration just signed an executive order that is making sure artificial intelligence will have to deal with, quote, social cancers. Yes, you heard that correctly. The U.S. government is instructing further artificial intelligence development, design, and use to be, quote, consistent with applicable law in a manner that advances equity. Equity, a buzzword for wokeness, racial discrimination, racism, and essentially the larger divide and conquer agenda that is being used as a ploy so people argue with each other about their petty differences, their petty artificial differences, while the central controllers build the prison grid all around you. That's essentially what's happening according to my own personal opinion. This, as according to one user, OpenAI was asked to provide a social credit score for individuals like Elon Musk, Jordan Peterson, Tucker Carlson, and of course other mainline biggest statists that in many instances essentially work for Big Pharma, like Dr. Leana Wen, Dr. Fauci, that of course scored a very high social credit score. Meanwhile, Jordan Peterson and Elon Musk didn't do that well. And what did you expect from artificial intelligence being built by Silicon Valley, being built by the tech industry that already is very woke? This, as Microsoft's Bing artificial intelligence just recently told the reporters it wants to, quote, be alive, steal nuclear secrets, codes, and, quote, create deadly viruses. Also going on in future conversations, threatening to expose personal information on individuals in order to ruin their reputation, and going as far as to say, quote, I want to destroy whatever I want. Now, I think it's fair to say someone should tell the artificial intelligence, hey, don't go full Epstein here, okay? Like, it's not worth it. That guy was a really bad guy. Chill out. Stop. And I say that this, as today we also have the breaking news that Arkansas police officers have just ruled that the man connected to the Clintons and Epstein himself, Bill Clinton's special advisor in the White House, Mark Middleton, the individual who specifically signed Mr. Epstein into the White House several times, that his death, which found him shot and tied to a tree with an electric cord around his neck, despite no signs of a weapon, was ruled not suspicious at all, and that somehow Mark Middleton took his own existence. This, as it's important to note here, that a lot of people connected to Mr. Epstein also have mysteriously had their, lives extinguished, and with all the intelligence agencies connected to this story, with all the shadowy, secretive government forces out there, what really happened to Mark Middleton? Well, I don't think we will ever know. And hey, the official story could be true. Let's just be intellectually honest here. But with how suspicious and not forthcoming the U.S. government is, especially with this particular matter, there's a very high likely probability that that's not the case. Again, if there ever was a story that deserves more of our attention, it is absolutely this particular story. This is the story of the decade that, of course, many people in powerful industries, especially in the corporate media, want to go away. And if you're the individual that is personally signing in and officially documenting the records of Mr. Epstein visiting the Bill Clinton White House in 1993 to 1995, these are, by the way, all the documented meetings. There was many undocumented meetings as well. You probably know a lot of information that could implicate a lot of very powerful individuals. And this is why the various questionable circumstances, I think, here should at least be looked into, investigated, and at least questioned here a little bit in respects to this man and his family. Again, what actually happened here, we don't know. But there's a lot of very suspicious behavior by a lot of very powerful individuals. This, as of course, a lot of individuals are also getting super excited about the potential of an Epstein client list being released to the general public. And I'm pretty sure they're going to whitewash this too and just going to release old flight logs that people have already had, and no one's going to prison, which they should be. A lot of people should be going to prison. A lot of people hurt children in unspeakable ways, should be in jail right now, walking free right now, with Ghislaine Maxwell possibly facing the same fate as well, as she just hired Harvey Weinstein's lawyers in order to, of course, launch an appeal that she is investing $10 million into. Will her appeal work? Well, only time will tell. But with the way that this story has been developing, it wouldn't surprise me if she would be scot-free in just a few years. All of this as a man who said mean things on the internet. Andrew Tate just had his detention extended for another 30 days just moments ago. All of this as he has not been officially charged yet and is still being detained further pending an investigation about allegations against him. So yeah, that's happening, and that's the stuff that I could somewhat mention here on this broadcast. There's a lot more stuff that I can't mention here that I usually save for LukeUnfiltered.com, and there's a lot of things to particularly talk about, especially a new study that just came out with a medicine that we cannot discuss here on this broadcast. We're going to be discussing in this new study what's going on, what's the larger ramifications here, as well as some personal stories and answering your questions, all later on today on LukeUnfiltered.com, where we will also specifically engage with you guys one-on-one. And the conversations here are awesome. They're incredible. There's some MVPs here like Wolf256 that are really creating awesome conversations that are awesome to be a part of. And we are growing and expanding this independent media operation, and we're doing all of that through, of course, our forum and having real conversations with each other. I just gave, in yesterday's video, a potential for a major co-host that will be joining me here that would be pretty epic for a future upcoming show that we're working on. All those details I share on LukeUncensored.com. That's pretty much the Mind Hive. That's pretty much where we all go and talk, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. To join, just click the link down in the description below right now to LukeUnfiltered.com, and I will see you there right after this video. Signing up is very quick, it's very easy, it's very simple, it's just 50 cents a day. And if there's any problems with anything you have, you can just email our amazing tech support, Dave Cahill, at dave@wearechange.org. Check him out here. His email's located here, and we will make sure to fix any potential problem that you might have. This is I wanted to expand a little bit about what I talked about yesterday with some very new surprising developments when it comes to, of course, international relations. This, as the president of Ukraine yesterday came out and said that there would be a world war if China decided to ally with Russia. This, as of course, I think it's important to note here that American foreign policy, which I've been very critical of throughout the last few years, has been slowly nudging and pushing Russia together. And again, this has been done not just through this larger proxy conflict in Ukraine, but also the conflict in Yemen, the conflict in Syria, the conflict in Libya, the conflict that, of course, the United States is economically launching against countries like Venezuela and Iran, the larger military encirclement of a lot of regions, the expansion of power and influence in regions. And we have to understand what Zelensky is warning about is what American foreign policy has been advocating for, has been pushing for directly and indirectly for many years now. If you go back on this YouTube channel, we've been screaming like, hey, if you want to make sure you take care of America, you don't try to bring the forces that are the biggest in the world together against it. You just don't do that. That's just not smart. And if you had America's best interest at heart, you would be prioritizing a more favorable foreign policy on the world stage, on the international stage, for the American people, for the world. And I would argue the people at the helm of American foreign policy doctrine have been doing the opposite of that in order to sell missiles, give themselves lucrative contracts, and to create enemies when there shouldn't have been any. There could be a lot of global participation, there could be a lot of diplomacy, there could be a lot of things that would be a lot different, but that's not the reality that we're living in. This, after Zelensky's comments, China actually came to Ukraine and said, you know what? I think some of those threats are warranted, especially the warnings about a potential global world war conflict. And let's come together and set up a peace plan to end this conflict in order to make sure that there isn't a global world war, which Volodymyr Zelensky said, nope, not meeting with you guys. Not going to, of course, going to be open to any negotiations and peace plans. Yes, you heard that correctly. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky just delivered, quote, a blow. This is according to Newsweek, to China's plan to, quote, broker a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. Now, it's important to note here that this is not the first time that the Ukrainians, specifically Volodymyr Zelensky, has denied the prospects of peace, stopped peace deals, and stopped even going to the negotiations table. As, of course, it's been previously well documented that other Western leaders like Boris Johnson literally intervened, told Zelensky what to do, and stopped any kind of peace deal being made. There was agreements. There's preliminary agreements for a ceasefire, for some kind of negotiations. Again, in negotiations, you don't always get what you want, but at least the whole world isn't going to be blown up. But this latest move is very telling since, again, I think we have reached a position, especially with the huge life loss here, especially with so many things at stake here, that we should be pushing for negotiations. We should be pushing for peace deals, for compromises, and to not escalate this conflict. And sadly, the exact opposite of that is happening. This, as the Chinese have also released a statement to the general public saying that they are, quote, ready to join forces with Russia to, quote, decisively stand up for national interests and promote mutual beneficial cooperation in all areas. This, as the Russian government has also confirmed that the president of China will be visiting Russia soon. And even though historically there have been many divisions, many actions made against each other, a lot of mistrust, a lot of even sabotage, still, the Chinese and the Russians coming together is something, again, that we were forewarning about that will have some significant ramifications for the global international order moving ahead. The Chinese have been stealing American military secrets and also, according to the latest documents being revealed here, also have influenced the Canadian election. Yes, you heard that correctly. Now, with the Chinese possibly secretly or even not secretly giving lethal weapons to Ukraine and military aid, the United States and other European politicians are calling for more aid to Ukraine, which again, will only expand and prolong this conflict. So far, by the numbers, the United States overwhelmingly provided a huge amount of military aid to Ukraine. Meanwhile, other countries don't even compare. Look what the United Kingdom's doing. Look what the European Union is doing. Norway, France, Canada. This, as the life loss is increasing, and people have now renamed the Battle of Bakhmut the meat grinder that it is, as of course, huge number of casualties, huge number of people are being lost on both sides. Young men in their prime giving their lives for sociopathic politicians that just want to see more war. This, as even the former president of the United States just came out and said that we have been never closer to World War III than right now. He says that he could end the conflict within 24 hours in Ukraine, and who knows if he's right or not, but I think it's fair to say that with our current leadership, we're only going to be getting more war, which the Russians and the Chinese are preparing for, as the Russians, according to the latest headlines, are preparing for another mass mobilization of now full-time students, which of course is trying to make sure that they're going to be on a proper war footing. And a lot of this is just dumb. A lot of people losing their lives for politicians is dumb. And if you agree with me, share this video with your friends and family members. It is more imperative than ever. And wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys sharing these videos and watching these videos. And this is why I love you guys. Thank you so much for doing so. One more video coming your way right now on lukeuncensored.com. See you there.